Hello everyone and welcome to another custom figure showcase, and today we are looking at a new 4th Doctor custom figure because obviously due to the recent news and or possibly release by the time you may be watching this, we know that we are getting a Deadly Assassin set with a Chancellor Goth, 4th Doctor and Time Lord all in Time Lord robes figures. Personally, I'm looking forward to getting that. I think it's going to be a great boost to the custom figure community, especially to have that many Time Lord figures available with a variety of designs. But obviously, you know, I know a lot of other people were expecting perhaps a little bit more variety, and this is a figure that I've had on my shelves for quite a while. But having known that we were getting the Deadly Assassin set, I wanted to wait until the opportune time to cash in on the algorithm searches to release it. So what we have here, as I said, is the 4th Doctor, but this is the 4th Doctor from the Deadly Assassin as he appears in The Matrix when he is fighting Goth, or possibly, depending on how you want to look at it, before he goes into the Matrix or after, when he is sort of slightly dressed down. But as you can see, I've made this version slightly weathered, so this is the version of him as he is in the Matrix. It's a brilliant design. Not, you know, I'm not trying to beat myself up there. What I mean is it's a brilliant design in terms of a costumed outfit, certainly a nice unique one to have seen. And it was an interesting custom to make because there is a large variety of parts here. So obviously the head and the hands are from the regenerated 4th Doctor figure. Personally, I really like that particular head sculpt. I do like to have it on most of my 4th Doctor customs for now. I don't know why, it's just one of those ones that I think it does just sort of stand out and look very good. The legs are from a Castrovalva 5th Doctor, or possibly from a Traken 4th Doctor. I don't know at this point, but either way it's the version that's got obviously the booted legs, as you can see. And then all I've done on this is I've sculpted on a belt to make it look like his sort of shirt's tucked in, but it's the torso that's got the most variety of parts here, because what I've had to do for this, I'm trying to remember the order I did this in. I suppose the order doesn't really matter, but the forearms up to the shoulders are from a Saxon Master figure. The torso and shoulders are actually from a Yana figure. Now, I know that seems a bit of an odd combination given that they seem to be the same sort of figure, but they're actually not. The Yana version has the cuffs as part of the hands, whereas the Saxon one has actual cuffs as part of the arm sculpt, and then you can put the arms into it. Now, obviously, why didn't I just use a whole Yana, Saxon regenerated Saxon Master figure for it? Simple answer, I didn't have one, but I did have I did have the spare arms from the Saxon Master, and I had the torso and shoulders from a Yana figure spare. So I've used the little screw trick to replace the pegs, because I think, now I'm trying to remember this the right way around. The Yana arms have the peg going up into the sculpt of the shoulder where there's a peg hole, but the Saxon ones have it going the opposite way. So I've had to sort of rejig them slightly. So I've used the screw trick. If you go to my How to Do series, you'll know what I'm on about. Basically using a small screw, drilling in a small peg hole and putting them in. Again, if you've got a Saxon Master, that would work fine. You don't have to do this whole thing. Again, I've just done it because of what spares I've got. The shirt is actually quite a large combination of milliput, and also I have used the shirt piece from the front of, I believe it was either tell a lie. It's the same sculpt, but the shirt front I've actually used is from a Harry Sullivan figure, because again, it's the same sculpt as the older 4th Doctor shirts for some other ones. But then, as I said, I have then had to completely fill out the back of the torso, along with bits of the front, plus the tassels on the sort of front of the shirt, to make it look like it does in the episode. Because obviously on that particular figure it was only the shirt front that was available, so I had to basically create a whole new wrap from milliput. And then overall I've given it a bit of a weather down, you know, make him look a bit more sort of grubby and slightly dirty from obviously when he's in, specifically I think the quarry sections is where he sort of gathers that dust up and things like that. I did consider having a little bit of blood on the arm, but I wanted to have a clean, ironically, clean version of a dirty outfit. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. It was an interesting one to put together, just simply due to the combination of parts and things like that. But the one thing that I would just like to mention or talk about a little bit on this one is I know that it's going to come up that a lot of people would have preferred to have had a variant like this in the newer set, and I completely understand that, don't get me wrong. I think it would have been a lovely variant to see. Not that, you know, the figures that we're not going to get aren't going to be nice ones to have, and as I said, as a, you know, custom figure maker, having that many Time Lord figures is going to be a positive boon to the custom figure community especially. But yeah, I can understand why people would want to see this variant, but I just want to break this down for a minute, because obviously, as I said, I've used a lot of different parts to make this, but from an actual production perspective, I want to break down what would have had to have gone into making this, because it actually would have been a huge amount of parts. I know it seems like a huge amount of new parts, because I know it seems like I've just cobbled these bits together, which I have, but again, as I have said before, there's a big difference between a custom figure maker doing that kind of thing and an actual production business doing that kind of thing. So just going over this from the legs up, boots would have been the same as on the standard figure, legs would have been the same as on the standard figure, hip joint, I'm going to say, in the way that I'm trying to work it out in my head, you could keep the hip joint the same. Torso is the bit that you would have really needed to have a whole new piece on. Because you could use the Saxon Master arms, that's fair enough, but in order to fit the torso onto the new legs, you would have had to have made an entirely new torso, because the Saxon Master torso does not fit onto those legs as standard, not surprisingly. So you would have had to have had a whole new torso sculpt. You would have then put the existing Saxon Master arms in there, and then obviously you would have had to create an entirely new body wrap in order to do the shirts and things like that. So you've got two new parts there that you've had to have done. I was actually considering that you might have had to have needed to have a whole new waist sculpt in order to fit the get a peg that fits into the Saxon Master body, but again, that becomes irrelevant when you consider that you'd have to resculpt the entirely new Saxon Master torso anyway. So again, two new parts there that you would have had to have used. The downside there is that, again, I think they probably would have only been able to be used in this specific figure. It is possible that they could have used that then same torso to create another varied number of coatless 4th Doctor figures. However, I think it is worth pointing out that I'm pretty sure that the fixing on these specific legs is not the same as the wider fixing on most other 4th Doctor legs. Because the Castra Valva and Traken torso piece is completely different to the original 4th Doctor, say, robot version or whatever it is. They were very standardised in their pieces for the 4th Doctor, that they could sort of use them for multi-purpose, but unfortunately they don't sort of cross over between those two variants. So yeah, it wouldn't have been difficult to do, but again, you would have been producing a couple of very specialised parts for basically only one figure. And I can understand why the whole 3 different Time Lords and getting the head for Goth and not getting the head for Barusa is a controversial point. When I get the figures, I'm going to talk about this more in my review. I can understand that is a controversial point. But it's one of those things, I think, whichever way you'd done it, people wouldn't have been, some people wouldn't have been happy. You know, and I think it's if I really, bearing in mind I'm saying this before I've gotten the figures, if I personally really had to put it down to a choice of which variant of the 4th Doctor I would have preferred in a Deadly Assassin set, this version or the robed version, I think I would have to say this one, and that's just me personally. You know, maybe when I get the figures, I'm going to change my mind. I want to make that clear. I'm not, you know, I don't want to be one of those people that bashes the figures before we've even got them. There's a lot of people doing that, and I think that's quite unfair. But yeah, just, you know, my personal feeling is I would have preferred this variant. But again, I appreciate there are limitations to producing these things. I appreciate the limitations that character options go through. Again, a lot of people don't seem to appreciate that. But that's, you know, that's just my thoughts. But again, you know, this is, at the same time as saying that, if I had gotten that in an official set, it would have been nice. But if I hadn't gotten it, I wouldn't have had the nice challenge to make this one, which certainly was a challenge, but it was one that I was very, very pleased to do, and one that I think was is definitely worth the challenge for anyone else out there who wants to try it. But that brings to a close another custom figure showcase. As always, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, favorite, subscribe, share, it really helps me out a lot. I'm sure description below for a link to my Patreon. I am still doing my figure animation. There is still an update coming.